Welcome to Ideagen TV Hollywood. Today we have with us our guest host, Steven Tingus. Steven, welcome.
Hi, George. How are you?
You know, Steven, always great when I see you. It's a great day when it's a great day for Steven Tingus. You are a leader. You are a luminary. You are a visionary. And Steven, I must say to our global audience, you are changing the world. And I understand you are going to have a very powerful interview today with a very powerful, insightful, and leading catalyst in Hollywood who you happen to work with very closely. I'll let you make that introduction, but I just want to say, great to see you. Great to have you on Ideagen TV. And thank you for all you're doing to change the world.
Thank you, George. I want to thank you, Ideagen Global and Microsoft, for this platform to really talk about important issues, not just about disability, but about diversity and inclusion. And obviously, the platform that you've given me is to talk about how the media and the entertainment industry here in Hollywood can help push the dialogue about the business sense of inclusion. And obviously, that's near and dear to your heart. So with that, I'd like to introduce our sixth guest on Ideagen TV Hollywood. Her name is Keely Cat-Wells. Keely, by trade, is an actress and then turned into one of these Hollywood, UK entertainment moguls that's trying to change the world. She is a very good friend of mine. She officially is the owner and talent manager at C Talent. She is both based here in Hollywood and in the UK. She's a dear friend and very respected among her peers here in Hollywood. So, Keely, I'd like to have you introduce yourself to our international viewers and talk a little bit about yourself and your career and where you are today.
Oh, Steven, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. And I am so grateful to be here. And thank you, Ideagen. Hi, I'm Keely, and I kind of got on this journey through, I was trained to be a dancer, and then I fell sick, and I actually became disabled at the age of 17. I was misdiagnosed, and like so many people with invisible disabilities and invisible illnesses, I was stereotyped and didn't get the treatment that I needed for about 3 years. So fought for my life for a very long time, had 8 major operations, and come out the other side with permanent disability, multiple different disabilities, and a lot of trauma, which, looking back, is one of the best things that actually ever happened to me and has changed my life and enabled me to go on to be a talent manager for incredible talent with disabilities. And I am currently also building the world's first film and TV studio that will be fully accessible for people with disabilities. I'm also working with different productions and consulting to really make this space in the entertainment industry fully accessible for all of us.
That's awesome. My hat's off to you, because it takes a lot of strategics and a network that is built with people that are fully committed to what you and I do. And, we all have, everybody actually has a disability in one way or another. Some are hidden, some are visible. But to me, we're all human. Labels don't really encapsulate the person. And when you get to know the person, the disability falls to the wayside. Because, there's a lot of other people that are more physically and intellectually challenged than us. So I think all of us make a difference. So, but I'm glad to have you today. Keely, one question. Who gave you the most support in your life or continues to be one of your rocks of support so that you are able to go after your goals as a member of this very difficult industry?
So the one person who has always supported me, and during a time where the support system of the health system, who's supposed to support you the most in times of need, and when they weren't there, my mom was really there throughout the whole of it, and she was the one that really fought for me to get the right diagnosis and the right treatment, and that has been a constant thread through my whole career. And also finding the disability community as well has been incredible. It was kind of similar when I found the dance community, and you find these people who are so like-minded and everyone's determined, and you all kind of get what everyone is going through. That was a very similar thing when I found the disability community, and when I found all of these like-minded people who, even in the entertainment industry where it's so cutthroat and it's so competitive and you're all kind of up against each other, but you still have this amazing bond and you all want to see that change and you want to be together and you want to be a part of this community that makes it better for each other. So I would say that the community of kind of everyone in that disability community and my family, of course, have been amazing people throughout this whole thing.
That's great. I've had similar parental support. Unfortunately, my parents have since passed, but I have great siblings with the same spirit as you that I'm lucky to have. I'm going to go off script because, you were a trained dancer and you've, dealt with your challenges, health challenges, and you've obviously have done well in the dance community. My cousin is a dancer as well, formerly with the Sacramento Ballet. I have a question for you. Did you find a lot of support in the dance community when you were going through this? I call it, a transition. We go through transitions in life, and hopefully we have a support system that will be there for us, both physically and emotionally. Emotionally, obviously, is very important. Were your peers in the dance community supportive during that time of your life? I mean, what were the challenges professionally that you faced?
It was incredibly difficult because I didn't even understand what was happening to me, and so they didn't understand, and it was a lot of kind of segregation, and I didn't do the same things as they did, and we were used to having a 10-hour day, and I would only be well during the morning hours, and I would have to leave at around 11 a.m. So I would have to try and fit all of my classes between 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. So I didn't really get to see a lot of people. And then as my sickness got progressively worse, I just dropped out of college altogether and dropped out the dance world altogether. And I think if it had been something as easy as saying, you know, I've got this or I've got this, then maybe people would have been able to understand and empathize. But there was definitely a lack of empathy because there was a lack of understanding.
Yeah, I get you, because, you know, when I was to make it, you know, a similar episode that I've had, you know, when I was pre-med at a major university here in California, you know, I wanted to get into med school, and I've had the grades, obviously, due to my tenacity. But again, back in the 80s, you know, getting into medical school with a disability was something that you didn't even try to attempt until changes occurred after, you know, sort of some issues with admission and qualification. So I totally understand the hurdle that you had to deal with professionally, but obviously in the dance profession, which is very demanding in itself. Very demanding, not only time, but on the body as well. You know, whether you have a physical challenge or you're able-bodied, it's a hard profession.
Yeah.
So I totally understand the process that you went through. Now, getting back to Hollywood, you know, you and I know a couple of years back, we had the Oscars So White issue come about by the Motion Picture Academy and its members and its eligible actors and producers, directors. Not just about acting, is it, Keely? It's about everybody behind the camera as well. You know, you and I know that there's 20% of Americans that have a disability. In Hollywood, as you know, roughly 2.5% of the roles on TV and film are for a character with a disability. 95% of those actors that land those roles are what we call able-bodied, for whatever that is, you know, but they are, you know, may have an invisible disability. We don't know, but they are able-bodied. So how do we, in your view, and we're all doing our best, but in your view, how can we effectively change this inherent systemic injustice? And I don't take that word lightly, but how do we change the dynamic so that more people with disabilities can audition for both able-bodied and characters with disabilities? Because I think we have to think outside the box. But you, as a talent manager, what is your thoughts about this?
Well, I think inclusion goes so much further than accessibility, but accessibility is the first thing that has to be implemented and has to be available. And access is not just physical access, which is what everyone automatically thinks of. Access is communication access, sensory access, cognitive access, communication access, and physical access. And it's only when we can all be on that even playing field and on the same level, and clients don't have to drag wheelchairs upstairs or not have ASL interpreters and kind of already be at a disadvantage because the resources that they need to do their work and to do their best work are not available. So I think it really does start with being able to ask that talent the right questions, to be able to implement the right access, to be able to implement inclusion. And I think that really has to come from an integral place. I think a lot of the times we see companies taking the opportunity, because inclusion and disability is an opportunity and there's a lot of money and buying power behind it, but they don't take that opportunity with integrity and they don't do it from authenticity. And I think going off that as well, we have to have people in those powerful positions who have disabilities, who are from the marginalized communities, and who have those lived-in experiences. I think it's much more than just having one person in front of the camera with a disability. It really goes from every single level in production, from every single person, and it's much more than just ticking boxes. It's ticking those boxes and more, with integrity, with access, and taking that opportunity.
I agree with you because, for about 10 years now, since my political days, both at Sacramento and Washington, D.C., in some very strategic positions, I've been here in Hollywood trying to infuse policy and the business incentive of hiring. And to me, I think the most powerful change that can come is to get people like us into executive or career ladder executive jobs at the studios, to really make sure that all decisions, both in front and behind the camera, truly take account of the demographics of the communities, the marketability of the communities, and also, I hope whoever is the next president, I'm thinking bipartisanship, that we need to develop tax incentives for businesses to hire people with disabilities, because it's sad, but I've looked at the current data. The median income through a job for people with disabilities is $38,000 a year. I don't know about you, but I can't survive on $38,000 a year, depending on the type of disability that you have, let alone if you need somebody to assist you.
Yeah.
So I think that said, my heart is to continue to work with the business incentive of inclusion.
Yeah.
In a very marketable way, less vitriol and more common ground. And I think if we continue to do that, you and I and others, that we can change the hiring rate.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, people with disabilities, we have so many different talents that people just don't see. We learn to adapt in so many different ways. We're so incredibly driven. We find ways to make things happen. And, and people don't understand that it's just a different way of working. We don't need special treatment. We just need equal treatment and true.
Exactly.
And I think empowering people like entrepreneurs as well. I found it very difficult to start my own business because there was not a lot of support there, because people thought that having a company that supports deaf and disabled artists, and being a disabled person myself, that it wasn't going to make money and it's not going to be profitable because it's a charity, which is completely wrong and not correct. And so there needs to be something out there that allows people like myself and you, Steven, and these resources. They just need to be made more accessible and open to people like us.
Exactly. I'm going to go off script again, which we don't usually do in the business, but I'm going to go off script. And what are your thoughts? I know I have my mantra, but what are your thoughts about for-profit versus nonprofit with regard to the work that you and I do? Because to me, there's too much baggage, in my view, too much baggage associated with disability and nonprofit. I think it sets up a silo between, our goals and aims versus the day-to-day business industry. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm a huge supporter of many different nonprofits, but I do think that for me and my business, it was very important that we were a for-profit, because when I first became disabled, I didn't know anyone who was a CEO of a company that had a disability. And I saw this new world that I was going into, a world full of pity and charity and people praying for me, and everything had great intentions. Everyone meant so well, but I wanted to prove to people that I can make money. I am smart to have I'm smart enough to have a profitable business, and that not everything surrounding disability does have to be a nonprofit. But for me, it was important to have a profitable business. Although, as I say, I'm a huge supporter of many nonprofits. I think there's just a line that has to be drawn, and there are differences, and we need an equal amount of both. And we do need those two different organizations.
I agree with you. I've been on the board of many disability-related nonprofits, and I think we need to stop saying, shame on you, this, that, and the other thing, and make sure that we put the business incentive of disability inclusion in the forefront.
Yeah.
And we need to support each other, because we can't make change if we're all the same.
Completely agree. And I think there are lots of companies out there who do have, and especially in the production world and movie making world, and they make films with someone who is the lead who has a disability, and the script was made by someone who does not have a disability, and they didn't have any consultants. And again, the incentives, and they've tried their best. They did it with the best intentions, but their massive mistake was not consulting, not hiring someone with a disability to work with them who has that lived-in experience. And if that is the first step that makes that smallest bit of change, then I think that needs to happen. And same with businesses. They just hired people from a different background with a different experience to them, then that change can slowly be made.
Exactly. And I've seen that, and you've seen that. It's difficult, as you could probably agree, to get the right people into the right companies so that the culture can change, and they can say, wow, we got 20% more in the market. Yeah, it's like it's easy to pronounce, but again, systemically, it's hard to change.
Yeah.
And it won't change unless we don't. I don't like to say we're going to fight for change. No, we're going to educate.
Yeah.
For change.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are so scared to say the wrong thing or to ask the wrong questions or be disrespectful. But I think we know as disabled people when someone is trying and is trying to be genuine and is really trying to make a difference and hire people with disabilities. So I would love to say to people, don't be afraid of saying the wrong thing. Just don't say it on a massive platform. Say it to us and we can educate you before it gets to that platform.
Exactly. I know, like crisis communications. It's not fun.
No, definitely
not.
not.
At all. Yeah, I want to go and ask you before I get to my last question. Tell me more about your work in the UK and how you've decided to work both across the pond and here in the States.
So we came up with this, it's like this 4-pillar process of really redesigning set and redesigning the production method and really making it accessible. And we started consulting on various different productions to make them accessible and to also source that talent with disabilities who are out there. Because a lot of the time we get the comments like, oh, they're just not out there. We can't find the disabled talent, so we had to go somewhere else and just get non-disabled talent. And a lot of the times that's the blame. So what we're doing is creating a database of disabled talent both behind the camera and in front of the camera, and creating this process and helping productions implement this process to make hiring talent with disabilities incredibly easy. And then from that, what we found was, what if we designed and built a film studio that was fully accessible for people with disabilities? And then productions wouldn't be able to find any excuses not to hire people with disabilities. And everything would be made super easy, super simple. And in a world that's not built for us and is not built for us in mind, we would be building something that really had a true universal design. So that's what we're currently doing in the UK, and hope to bring it into the US as well.
Are you able to talk about, it depends on what stage you're at in the process, but are you able to talk about some of the core companies that you're working with, or is that still you're not able to talk about that?
Not able to disclose too much yet. Hopefully we should be able to soon. But I am excited for everyone to kind of see what we've been doing, and I think everyone will know these companies, which is the exciting part of it. Awesome.
Now, when you get to that stage to develop your production company, I would assume that's what it will be. Is the talent, in your mind, talent is talent, no matter where they are, but is there a preference of hiring talent from the UK in that area, or is it going to be open to everybody?
So when making this database that we're currently doing, what we're doing, it's incredibly important that this is on a global scale, and we can implement this everywhere. And it's just really creating that awareness of who is out there and what talent is out there. And a lot of obviously US productions come to the UK to shoot because of the tax incentives, and a lot of talent does come into the UK to shoot. So the studio will be open to everybody. And we really hope to have a lot of US productions come in, a lot of different cultures come in, and really make it a multicultural community.
Great. That's great because, I can tell you, a lot of people in the U.S. would jump at the opportunity to be a part of an effort like this. It's not just an effort; it's a huge undertaking. But as we know from, Tyler Perry and where he started,
Yeah.
God knows where he is today.
Yeah.
So I think this is our version, your version of his path that he took.
Well, I love that you said that. He's a massive inspiration, and I think, what he's doing is truly incredible.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope to, as you know, I hope to work with him one day because, he, like many of us, never gave up, went through a lot of hard times and kept to his originality, and kept to his brand, and he deserves what he's producing right now.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of friends, black friends that are major actors on his shows, and I just hear nothing but good things. So I think, taking that path, Keely, is probably going to be your legacy. And I'm glad to be a part of your support system with regard, because we have to help each other out, right?
Absolutely.
We can't look against each other because of jealousy. We have to fit in the right positions, the right angles, so that what you do is reflective of what we're all trying to do, either individually or collectively.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one win in the disabled community is a win for all of us. I really do. One step forward is a massive step forward for all of us. And we have to help each other out because it's, we can't, if we're not going to help each other, the outside world still is so against us all of the time. So it's so important that we build that strength together.
Yeah, and the reason they're against us really isn't because they hate us. It's because they haven't had the opportunity or the effort to get to know us.
Yeah.
And I noticed as when I was young and when you were young and when I'm getting older and we're all getting older, the more you break the ice and you say, hey, how are you? And then you start a conversation, the more support that we get unconditionally.
Yeah.
For who we are, what we can do, and how we're not different from anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think too many times in Hollywood, and I'll be shot to death here, but I think too many times in Hollywood, in the disability community, some of us, it's all about me, rather than let's go play on the other block.
Yeah.
Let's go play in that sandbox over there.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's just my view, but my view is no better or nor less than the people that you and I know. So it's just a matter of learning how to work with each other to accomplish the same goal. Yeah,
I completely agree. And it's just when people start to realize that we're all on that human level, and when we really bring it down to that, and that's what there is, we're all people at the end of the day, and we all deserve respect. Yeah. And I saw something going around on social media, and it was about, when you see when a young child points at someone with a disability in the street and says, and the mum says, oh, don't point. rather than saying don't point, just say go say hello, you know? And
Yeah.
such a small thing that could make massive change.
Yeah, exactly. You and I went through that as well, and our parent was with us. And, when you're a child, your mind is so open that you want to go up to people who are different from you.
Yeah.
And you want to communicate. But now I think we're getting a little bit better in allowing conversations to be made in public. I think, thank God, Generation X and Z and whatever generation there is to come, I've noticed that is not a barrier in their mindset. That's not an issue in their, in their way of life. They really love people.
Yeah.
And they want better communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So my last question is, what are you hoping to do this year? We're all obviously tired, fatigued, scared about the pandemic. Not only people with disabilities, but everybody, whether you're in Hollywood or not. And you and I know the ups and downs of filming in Hollywood and the CDC guidelines. But what are you hoping to do as far as projects this year? And the most important thing to me is, what types of storylines are you looking to get involved with and be a part of here, whether it be for TV or for major movies?
Well, so for Sea Talent, what I'm really hoping and excited for is that we are going to create different departments. So we're going to have a sports department, our actor department, and obviously our behind the camera and behind the scenes camera department as well. So we really get to expand and specialize in different areas. And in terms of storylines, I think it's such a good question. And I think, for me, it really would be, I would love to see more roles and more characters that don't specify that they have to have a disability, but people with disabilities playing these characters and implementing their lived-in experience in these characters. So we get to celebrate their culture, not have a storyline that revolves around their disability and not human themselves, just about, and, storylines that don't start off with asking, what happened? What happened to why? I hate that so much. And I really look forward to storylines that include us in ways that have not done before and that get told by people from an authentic background and that get written by people with disabilities. And I think that way the storylines will just grow and grow and become more interesting. And I think the truth sells.
Yeah, I agree too. I think, playing to the truth and telling stories that are out of character for people typically seen with a disability. And now, as you know on TV, autism is a big seller on TV. You see spinal cord injuries, a big sell on TV. You're obviously, you're deaf. Actors, whether hard of hearing or deaf, are doing well, but obviously underrepresented on screen, both big and small. But I think we as a community need to do a better job of thinking outside the box. And if there's a lead role or a supporting role, say for a lawyer, a professor, a hospital administrator, even a doctor in a wheelchair. I mean, like if you have spinal cord injury, you have upper body mobility, doesn't mean that you can't play a doctor anymore, because thank God after I got out of college and graduate school, people with disabilities were getting into med school. So I think we need to apply for every role that is interesting to us, so we know that we have some sort of connection to that character, despite what your challenge is. And just go for it. Because the more casting directors see you in that room, deliver what you can deliver in a very authentic way, is the best thing that we could do.
Absolutely. And it's like the power of the media is huge. There is so much power, and if we start to cast people with disabilities who are in a wheelchair, who are doctors, I think that will transcend into real life. I think they'll, everyone's watching the media all the time, and I think the one thing that has happened this year during COVID is everyone has turned to entertainment. Everyone has watched TV or watched a film, and it really does have the power to change perspectives.
And and my closing thought, the reason I enjoyed politics, I enjoyed being in those very senior leadership jobs politically, but I know from my time in that arena that the media can have a more immediate effect on people's mindsets, their perceptions, their understanding than we could do legislatively. Legislatively, creates laws, but laws are only as good as people make them in society. So that's why it's so humbling to me to be a part of the media industry, so that you and I and our peers are able to educate people, whether in a TV commercial, whether on a TV series, or a major movie, or independent movies. We all send a message that we're all a part of this together.
Absolutely. So well said. Completely agree.
Well, with that, Keely, I want to thank you so much for being with us today, and your work that you've done in your short time on Earth. And you're just going to make us all so proud that the path that you're taking will set an example for others to follow, to make effective change. And I'm so glad that we're friends, and I support you in what you do, and you can always count on me. And together it's going to be baby steps, but they're steps in the right direction.
Well, thank you so much. It's a true honor to work with you, and you have paved the way for us. And it's just amazing to work with you. And thank you for having me on here.
I thank you, Keely, and I want to thank George Safakis and Ideagen Global for giving you and me, Keely, this platform to talk about the work that we do and how others can support our work, so that we're one community, and one community that helps each other regardless of their ability, disability, color, whatever. Because if we don't help each other, we won't make progress. So thank you, Keely, for joining us. It's been a great discussion.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.